Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we have a 2024 Subaru Crosstrek, and we're going to be taking a look at, and I'm going to show you how to install the eTrailer Class 3 2-inch hitch receiver. Now the Subaru Crosstrek is a very versatile vehicle. You can go a lot of places in them. The one issue with them is the back of the vehicle is not very large, so you're not going to have a whole lot of room for storage, especially if you're trying to get something like a bike to and from the trailhead. It's going to be very difficult and really messy if you're coming back from the trail to slide that bike in the back of your car. That's where a hitch receiver is going to come into play. With this hitch, you're going to be able to tow small trailers as long as you pair your hitch with some wiring, which we have on our website. Haul cargo baskets. You can put a bike rack on here. Just many different options. Having a hitch receiver on the back of your Crosstrek is going to make it that much more versatile. This particular owner of this vehicle is using it to haul a 4-bike rack to and from the trail because they just purchased this new vehicle, and their old vehicle, they had a hitch on it already. So they wanted a new one so they could do the same thing with their new Crosstrek. The weight capacities of this hitch are going to be 525 pounds of max tongue weight. That is the pressure put down on the inside of the receiver tube, which shouldn't be a problem because you're only going to be able to pull lighter duty trailers. Cargo carriers typically will have a 500-pound weight capacity depending on which one you pick up. As far as the gross trailer weight rating that it's rated to pull is going to be 3,500 pounds. That is the weight of the trailer plus the load included. So you want to be sure to check that before you hook up to your Crosstrek. You'll also want to check what your Crosstrek, your year, make, model, and the submodel, that is very important. Be sure to check what it is rated to pull, and you want to go with the lowest component between the vehicle and the hitch. This hitch is going to feature a 5/8 inch hitch pin hole, which is a standard for 2-inch hitch receivers. It does not come with a pin and clip, but chances are if you pick up an accessory from us, it will come with one. If it does not, we have several locking and non-locking hitch pins on our website. It also comes with these loop-style safety chain loops, where it's going to fit many different sizes of safety chains. You can see here we can even fit 2 on there at the same time, more than large enough to be able to fit whatever style safety chain that you have. Now when it comes to ground clearance, we'll give you a couple measurements. We are at 14 inches of ground clearance. That is a good amount of ground clearance. Typically we recommend a rise in the shank of whatever accessory you have. If it's 12 inches, so being 2 inches higher, you should have no problems. Most accessories will have at least a 2-inch rise. If you look into a converted 1 1/4 accessory that has a 2-inch adapter, those will typically have a higher raise in the shank. So you should be okay with whatever accessory you want to add. And as far as the distance from the center of the hitch pin hole to the outermost part of the bumper, it's going to be about flush with these fins, which I really like because when you're walking at the back of your car, not many people walk this close to the back of their car, but if you were, the hitches, you're not going to have to worry about hitting your shin on the hitch, or when you're loading stuff in and out of the back of the car. As long as you don't have an accessory, you should be fine. When it comes to the installation, this installation is not bad at all. I'd say the hardest part is probably drilling out an access hole. You'll have to remove 2 rubber plugs, and then on the forwardmost access hole that we're using, we'll have to drill it out in enough space to be able to run the hardware up through it, because that's how we're going to have to drop them down. But other than that, it's just lifting the hitch up into place. You don't have to lower any spare tire or the exhaust or anything like that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and show you how we did it. To begin our installation, we'll need to be underneath our car, and you'll see a couple of rubber plugs here. We're going to need to remove the rearmost one and the forwardmost one. You'll take a flathead screwdriver or a trim panel tool like we've got here. You just want to pry those out. That's where our bolt's going to drop through. And then this forwardmost hole, we're going to have to enlarge in order to fit our hardware up into it. Now we're going to use a step bit in order to enlarge this hole. I'll just test fit our hardware, make sure it slides up inside that hole. Now that we've got those drilled out, we'll take a putty knife. We're going to have to scrape off some of this sealant here. It's just going to make our hitch not sit even, and you don't want this soft material underneath it, because if this ever erodes or comes out, your hitch is not going to be secure. Now we're going to take our fish wire, run it up through our front hole first. It's better if you can reach up there, kind of feel for it. And we're wanting it to drop down through our access hole. That. We'll take a spacer block, slide it on, and then thread on our bolts. So we can take our spacer block, push it up into the frame, followed by our bolt, and then out through the rearmost hole. Now the front one's going to be a little different. We're going to have to put the spacer block on first, and then our bolt. And we're going to reverse fish wire this. And we're going to leave these fish wires on so we don't risk pushing the bolts back up into the frame. Put our bolt up first, then our spacer block, and pull it down through. Now with an extra set of hands, I've got John here helping me. We're going to take those fish wires, thread them through the appropriate holes in the hitch, and then you'll kind of have to maneuver it around the exhaust. It's going to be difficult with our fish wires. There we go. Yep, and then raise it up into position. Now this part is kind of tricky because we need to make sure both of ours bolts are dropping through. There we go. And then take our fish wire off. And then thread on our flange nut. Once you get one started on each side, it'll kind of help hold the hitch up while you get the other one installed. And we'll need to go ahead and snug up our hardware, and then we'll come back with a torque wrench and torque everything down to the specifications in the instructions. Well guys, hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not the eTrailer Class 3 2-inch hitch receiver is right for you and your 2024 Subaru Crosstrek.